there. I tried to looking at my phone and still didn't have service. Sometimes I'll have service. Oh,
Hey, you're just going there, bro. You're just going. Tell your story.
no. Well, I was just talking about how my phone was about to hit me in the face whenever I went to bed on Friday night. When
Yeah.
that ever happen to you guys?
All the time, like
All the
every
time,
night. That's
every
how I
night.
know
You're
when it's
looking.
time to go to sleep. How do you know
I
when
know.
it's time to go to sleep? When your
That's
phone
right.
hits you in the face. Hey, everyone. You are live with the Overland podcast here on a Taco Tuesday. We got with us Tony from Bats Off Road, the co-host. Thank you for
Hello.
being here.
Howdy,
And
howdy.
Michael Pruitt with Pruitt Knives of Valor. Thank you for being with us, Michael.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. We got lots of planned, lots to talk about, and lots to cram into an hour. So here we go.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Overland Podcast. We're excited to be here. We're coming to you live as we do each week, bringing you the latest in all things outdoors and overlanding. The live show contains listeners, so join us with your comments and questions. Here we go. No pros, just bros on this show.
Here we go. No pros, just bros.
That's right.
Man, I tell you what, somebody who's praying about the weather has got it backwards because we're having beautiful days during the week and the weekends are sucking. And so whoever's doing that needs to stop. Every time I look at the weather about this upcoming weekend, it gets worse. So I'm not looking at it anymore. It went from 30% on Saturday to 60% on Saturday to 70% on Saturday. Now it's 70%. And now it's 90% with thunderstorms.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And I swear it's just one thing after another. Richard's on here. Galen's on
Richard,
here. Hey, guys.
Galen,
Thank
hey,
you for
buddy.
joining us. Appreciate you being here. We have with us Michael Pruitt from Pruitt Knives of Valor. And if you don't know, there's a lot of dumb people out there that listen. So knives starts with a K. That's why it's PKV, not PNV, because knives starts with a K, not an N. So that's what that means. Now, Michael, you and I met personally, and I don't know if that was the first time you met Tony. Rendezvous 2023. That's the first time we met in person.
Yep.
And you had a booth set up really close to us. So it was like us and Go Explore and Badak, and you were right there by Badak. So it was cool having all the buds right there in a row. So that was pretty cool. Now you and I had communicated several times on social media, but that's the first time we'd ever met in person. And you had a really cool setup there, and you were actually doing some live stuff. So you had a booth set up. You had some of your knives displayed. Really cool display. Love that. How you had that set up with the wood and all that. Very, very. What do you call it? What would you call your setup? You would call it.
That's a good question.
Fancy.
Oh no, it wasn't. I wouldn't call it fancy. I would call it rustic. That's what I would call it.
There you go. That's good.
All right.
Because that really fit what you had going on there, and I really liked the way you had it set up. I walked over there. Your display was immaculate. It was really nice, and you also were going to do some live some demonstrations and stuff with how you actually make your stuff. So that was really cool to actually we came over and interviewed you and got to talk to you, kind of hit it off. And since then we've camped a couple times. So I'm going to say that we have graduated in the last few months to actually liking each other. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool where we're actually, buds and not just somebody that converses on
we're
the
bros now.
socials, as you might call it.
Yeah.
Now, for those who do not know you and maybe follow you on social media and all they see is knives and knife making and stuff like that, tell us a little bit about yourself personally, where you live, your family, and stuff like that, so we can get to know you a little better.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a little bit of background, a little bit more background. Grew up in Orlando, Florida. moved to Central Arkansas to go to Harding for school.
Were you born at Disney World?
Pretty much.
Sweet.
Real
That's
close.
pretty cool. Wow. That's amazing.
But yeah, moved to Arkansas to go to Harding University, and then met my wife here. She's a Searcy girl, so Searcy, Arkansas is home now, and so I went to school, did athletic training, did more school, became a physical therapist. So I do that. Currently, I do that 2 days a week in a clinic, and then the other 3 days a week I'm knife making.
That's awesome. And your shop where you actually make your knives, you've got this gigantic warehouse, right? Where you go and you make your knives. It's like gold floor, cedar walls, things
man.
like that. It's a sweet place.
That would be sweet. That would be sweet.
That's actually not it, y'all. That's not it. That's
the shop is just my garage. I take up about half my garage with all my shop work, and other half of my garage is a home gym or refrigerator.
Home gym or refrigerator.
Yeah,
I've seen you working. I saw you working last week with the door open and the snow outside. I'm guessing it gets pretty warm in there.
Oh, for sure. And I run a propane forge, so I always like to make sure I got some air circulation going on. And
don't want to burn the house down.
Absolutely not. Yeah, that sucker puts off some heat, so I was not upset about firing up the forge that day.
Yeah, that thing. I heard it the first time before I saw it. So I heard it, and then I was like, "What is that?" And then I walked over there and I saw what all the noise was going on. That thing, it's like a fire-breathing dragon. It puts off some heat.
Oh yeah, it kind of sounds like a jet engine almost. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Well, what was the inspiration behind Pruitt Knives of Valor? How did that all begin?
I missed working with my hands as far as like creating something, and I grew up in construction. My dad's an electrician, and then I've just been working in a clinic 5 days a week for the last several years, and I just missed a good hobby that I could do with my hands. Well, then it turned into I'd love to even maybe even start a business. That one, just I'm working for myself. Hey, Melanie. And but also a business I could start, and if my kids wanted to join into it, they wouldn't have to go to 8 years of school to be able to do it. They could do it when they're 10 and 12 years old now. And so the knife making kind of came to my attention. I thought that'd be really cool to make knives, and kind of figured out how I could get started, and started repurposing steel. And a buddy of mine works for the railroad. He brought me a piece of railroad track for an anvil, and just like finding lots of stuff that could get me started without costing me a lot of money. And then I figured out the leaf springs kind of started because I just didn't want to pay a lot for steel that especially early on when I really didn't know what I was doing, just trying to figure it out. And found out that leaf springs, the steel they make is typically 5160, and it makes a good knife. So that kind of where it started. And then of course I drank the Kool-Aid of bladesmithing and haven't looked back since. The more I did it, the more I wanted to do it.
That's funny. Well, I've come up with some things that I don't know a whole lot about knife making. Actually, I know zero. And so it's one of those things where I want to know more. And I want you to fill us in. And when you and I talked at Rendezvous, you kind of blew me away with your knowledge, and I'm like, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. He's just not out there pounding steel. He actually knows steel and the way that you forge things and things like that. So I actually looked on the internet when I was kind of preparing for this. You can believe anything you see on the internet. So I actually got on the internet and I was like, okay, I'm gonna check out some things about knife making. And And I got on. There's a magazine called Blade Magazine. You heard of it?
Yes.
Okay. And it's questions that they had. A new knife maker can ask a veteran, somebody who knows what they're talking about. So if I wanted to get into it, this is what I would ask somebody who knows what they're doing. These questions are kind of used to set apart somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who doesn't, somebody who maybe cuts corners, who maybe speeds the process up a little long, maybe to put out more quantity than quality. And so they had, let's see, 4 questions. And what I wanted to do, I wanted to ask you about that so you could describe yourself about with these questions. And so the first one that they said, and the most important one, is about authorship. It is, do you make the knife from start to finish? You know, I know there's if you go out there and look, there's some blanks you can buy, and you can just put a handle on it. You know, some of them already Damascus steel. They're real pretty. Some start with raw metal. Which describes you?
So, what was the first one?
Authorship. Do you make the knife from start to finish?
Oh, yeah. So completely start to finish. Everything done to the knife, including the sheath, is done by me. I start with a flat piece of steel, usually a big old fat leaf spring, and go from there. I forge the point, I hammer it out, and I do as much as I can with the hammer. And I try to grind as little as possible. I try to forge as close to finish as I possibly can, because to me that's my favorite part of the whole knife making process, and that's what I've really done a lot of learning on. That, you know, how the steel moves under the hammer and stuff to get it to the shape that you want it.
Okay, so I got this straight from your Facebook page. This is where you start, correct?
Yeah. So that's a width-wise, that's half the width of the leaf spring, and then that's probably about an 8 to 10 inch cutoff piece of a leaf spring off of a Dodge 2500.
Okay, so what made you go with leaf springs? You mentioned some number a while ago, the 5160, I believe, may have been what you said. Tell us what that means and why you start off with that.
So 5160 is usually just known as spring steel. It's one of many different high carbon steels. Oh yeah, we tore up some cookies last weekend.
Yes, we did. Those were so good. Anyway, sorry.
So the numbers usually have more to do with the alloy of the steel. So carbon is a big one for hardenability. If it has low carbon content up to a high carbon content. So a low carbon content is not going to harden very well. Your higher carbon contents, when you heat treat it, will harden really well, which means it'll hold a really good edge. So I learned that leaf springs not only are a good high carbon steel, but 5160 is well known to be very tough. And I was always the kid that broke everything. If you told me something was indestructible, I would prove you wrong. And so I went with I stuck with 5160 because I thought, well, I want to make knives that are going to be tough enough to withstand me. And if they'll withstand me, they'll withstand most people.
Like ninjas or things like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, ninjas.
Exactly.
Ninjas, yeah.
Have you ever made a throwing star?
I have not made a throwing star. I have
made a throwing knife.
Yeah. I experimented a little with that. So the kids every once in a while come into the shop and like, can I get the throwing knife? And they'll go out in the backyard and throw it at the trees. And
man, my dad, if I asked my dad for a throwing knife when I was about 10 years old, he was like, no, no, your aim.
Not gonna do it.
I would be going to the hospital with a knife stuck in my ear or something like that. So yeah. But yeah, that was an interesting question to me, right off the bat, because, talk about the elephant in the room. Okay. If somebody prices one of your knives, they're more expensive than Walmart, anything like that.
But
sure, the amount of hours that you put in there, okay, from start to finish for a knife averages around what?
Average is usually around 15 hours.
15 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody can do the math on that, minimum wage is $15 an hour. So you're looking at, I can't do math, so I don't know what that is, but I know it's a lot. And you can't just go out there and say, oh man, your knives are expensive. Well, yeah, because you put start to finish in there. You're not producing 100 knives a day.
Mm-hmm.
You're out there putting heart and soul into every single knife and putting, PKV on it and behind it. So that's pretty cool. Melanie said I was the only kid out of 8 that was trusted with a throwing knife. Oh my goodness. Kyle says, hey guys, Overlanding Ninja Stars is what I'm looking for. Okay.
Well, that's right.
All right. Well,
That's
there
right.
you go. Get with Michael and he will see what he can hook you up with. So because I'm sure you have a lot of leftover square pieces of metal that you can't do anything with. And you can probably,
that's not a bad idea. I may play around with that.
Overlanding Ninja Stars. That's what we need.
Fun.
Okay. The second question that they had on here to ask somebody is guarantee. How do you guarantee your work? If so, what is it? The author states that a guarantee is some sort. It's not an outlandish thing to ask as long as you use the knife for its designed purpose. If you use it for a pry bar or a screwdriver or something like that, you should never expect any kind of guarantee. So what do you offer with your knives as far as any kind of guarantee? If so, if you do offer one, if not, that's cool.
Yeah. So I would say that states my guarantee pretty well. If you're using it for its design purpose, and usually for me, I make a lot of camp knives and type stuff. So I expect people to be able to make kindling with them. And I would expect them to baton them, but you don't ever want to hit hardened steel with another piece of steel. You're likely to crack it or break it. And so if you're batoning a knife with wood, which is typically what you want to do anyway, I would expect it to hold up. If for some reason it cracked or broke or some, major malfunction happened, I would replace the blade.
Excellent. That's exactly what I expected you to say. The third question was, what is your genre? Some knife makers specialize in historical pieces. Some do kitchen pieces. Some do hunting knives. You need to know this so when you contact a professional knife maker with something like what you would like to have, know if it's in their wheelhouse or something that they can do, because they have a specialty of what they do. What would you say that your genre is if you were to describe that?
I would say most of what I do is like small everyday carry, kind of used for a little bit of everything. Camp knives and kitchen knives.
I've used a butter knife as a screwdriver because that was the only thing around. Yeah, Lisa, I get you.
Yeah, I'll use a cheap knife as a pry bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Amy.
Yeah, that's most of what I do is everyday carry, hunting and skinning knives. I forgot to mention that hunting, skinning knives, camp knives, and kitchen knives.
The ones you posted today, I lusted over. Yesterday or today. All right, here, I'm gonna pull them up on the screen because
this one right here.
Oh, he's got it right there.
Oh my gosh, that right there! Come on, man, you're killing me with the giant cleaver.
Combined with the mini, so you got you a nice matching set there.
Oh my goodness, these are available.
Oh yeah.
Posted on the website, on the Facebook and Instagram today. They're available if you have a hankering for these. Now, I have in my possession my kitchen knife that my wife snuck in on me and got from you. And let me tell you, I don't know if my wife's still listening on here, but if she is, she can comment. But the service you provided in getting this to my wife without me knowing about it for Christmas, you came to my house and I didn't even know it. And left this for her. I don't know where you left it, but when we were at Rendezvous and I went over there and I looked and looked and looked, you had this one and you had, I think the toothpick. I think it was.
The butter knife.
The
Yeah,
Arkansas butter knife.
the
The Arkansas butter knife.
knife.
That one right there.
Here.
That one right there.
You still have that? Oh my gosh. I was going to put a picture of it up there. And also this one right here.
Yes.
Love that. Okay. And I fiddle farted around and played
That's
with
this-
them and
that's
messed
this
with
over here.
them.
You can see it.
And I swear, this was the first thing oh my gosh, you still got that one too. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to get another job.
he brought them all this weekend. We got to play with these knives. I mean, it was a great time.
This right here is in the hands of a sculptor. This is something. This is something right here, because all I've had up to this point has been, yeah. Here's my wife right here. He put it in the mailbox while we were inside eating supper. That's just wrong. That's just wrong
See,
and not right.
You
When
think
I
I
drove
was
up
joking
here-
like a ninja,
Like
Yeah.
a ninja.
like a
Well, when
ninja.
I drove up to the house too, I knew you were home because both your vehicles were home and the garage door was open. So I did one pass to make sure you weren't in the garage. And then I came back by the other way, so I didn't even have to get out of the car. And I just boom, and then took off.
Yeah. Well, my wife's telling me to simmer down because you still have those other two knives that I've slobbered all over, and she knows that Valentine's Day is coming up, babe. I'm telling you right now, that would be perfect. But anyway, that has been life changing to me, and really, no lie, because we have been snowed in for I don't know how long, and all I've done since we've been snowed in is cook, and I can't tell you how many thousands of things I've cut with this knife already. And fortunately, not one of them has been me. And normally I do that. Normally
That's
I take
really good.
off the end of my finger or something like that. And we're going to get into the knives that you make and the sharpening and all that here in just a minute. But I wanted to cover these questions. So anyway, and the last one was the last question that they said you should ask somebody is there someone who has inspired you? Someone that you've watched videos of, someone you trained with, someone that you have worked with to perfect your art, and who would that be?
Like Bruce Lee.
Do what?
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee make knives?
No, never mind.
Oh my gosh.
He's like,
Oh yeah.
see, yes,
Yes. Okay. All right. We're going to take a sidebar here. Lisa's talking about, hey, y'all come to the Jeep Jam. You might win one of his knives because he has donated one for the raffle. So if you don't know what she's talking about, if you don't know what Lisa's talking about, put this on your calendar, March 14th through the 16th, Newton County Fairgrounds, Jasper, Arkansas. Michael will be there, and he has donated one of his knives for the raffle. So that's cool. So if you want to win one, you can come and get one from the raffle. So I want to throw that out there. Make sure and mark your calendars now, March 14th through the 16th. Newton County, the most beautiful county in Arkansas. Plan to go. Cool.
yes.
So is there someone that has inspired you?
So starting out, it was just simply watching Forged in Fire was really fun and kind of just inspiring to get in there and just basically just get in the garage and do it. Doesn't matter how good or bad it turns out, just to do it. But there's a couple of big, I feel like well-known knife makers. One of them is Jason Knight. He was one of the judges on Forged in Fire for one season. I think he was just filling in. And that's where I first heard of him, but I started following and he puts out a lot of really good educational content. So I learned a lot from his free content he posts on YouTube. I purchased one of his courses so I could learn even more. And so he's been a big one. And then another one, his name is Neil Kamimura. He's a knife maker in Hawaii. And he makes just some really cool stuff. And I mostly like their stuff because, especially Neil Kamimura, he does pretty much all his knives forged to finish, or a lot of his knives forged to finish. And so that's what I try to do, is get it finished as close as possible so that when I finish forging it and then I do a little grinding on it, it still looks the same.
That's one thing I love about this knife and all the ones that you make. Because it's not It's
All
you
of the
know
ones.
if you buy a giant, say, buck knife. Buck knives have been around for 50, 60 years, been around a long time. If you buy one of them, it looks like a piece of shined aluminum. I mean, it is shiny, polished, all that. This knife here is rugged. It looks like it's going to last a million years. Because the only thing that's shiny on this is where you sharpened it. You know, where you put it through the sharpener. And I ain't gonna touch the blade because I'll cut myself right here on live national TV,
You'll bleed out.
and I'll bleed and I'll have to get off here. But it's really cool the finish that you put on your knives, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It actually goes along with my personality, rugged yet beautiful. So
There you go.
anyway, now I want to get to talking about several of the different knives that you've made and discuss what all went into those. But the 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 next thing I want to ask you is you've really delved off into this world of overlanding, and you know you've gotten really heavily involved. You're going to different events, and you've gotten involved where you went camping. Y'all went camping this past weekend. Do you consider yourself an overlander?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Tony, you have some input on that?
Well, sure. I mean, what as far as do I think I am, or do I think
No,
Michael is?
what do you think about Michael being in the overlanding world? I mean, y'all slept beside each other last weekend.
Hey, we overlanded all weekend.
All
That's
weekend.
true. I guess
In
that's
the
true.
same in the
Water
same place.
crossings and
In the
everything.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right here. See, there's proof right there. It happened.
There we go.
Michael's tent is the
See?
Gazelle tent, the orange tent. It's really hard to miss. It doesn't look like Benji's homeless camp. You know, it's really nice and put together. It's actually pretty cool. So we have a buyer right here, right off the bat.
Telling you.
Richard's gonna come see you. He needs one.
Richard's close by, too.
Richard, have him show you one with the patina finish on it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what these are right here. So I'll throw this out there. So this knife, let me find one to compare it to.
I love the patina finish
So
with the snazberry handle.
So this one has, it's got that shine on the on the belly part.
Yeah.
And so what I like to do is especially any kitchen knife I do, I've been consistently putting patinas on them, but I didn't at first. Part of that is your blade will develop a patina. It might get some blue or some yellow coloring to the edge of the blade especially if you're chopping up real acidic foods like onions. So what I do with my kitchen knives is I give them a soak in vinegar and force a patina on the blade. So what it does is it gives it this nice black sleek look. So you can see the bevel it's smoothed out there, but it's just nice and dark, so the color won't change much. So that patina may wear off going in and out of a Kydex sheath or something, but the patina is a good thing. So all these knives, high carbon steel knives, they can rust over time. So you just got to take care of them, keep them oiled up like you would a cast iron skillet or something.
Yeah.
And so what I did with these is this just gives it an extra layer of protection against any rust, having that patina on there. So
I love it.
Arla came in here and she's really getting one in your face here, right off the bat. So I want to know the story. While we're talking about you being an overlander, everybody knows that an overlander has to have a diesel heater. You got one.
Yeah.
This past weekend, how did it work out?
Well, I've returned it already. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God! I heard it had to have surgery.
Yeah. So it's actually sitting right here. Let me see if I can get it here. Bring the cord up. So the way my battery's set up that I'm gonna have.
Hey, don't show everybody my patch job.
So it comes with, it came with just the two wires. So just the red and black wire, just two leads sticking out. Well, my battery setup I'm working on, I just didn't have it finished as a battery box, and probably get like a deep cell battery, a marine battery or something to put in that. Well, those 2 leads, you just, screw them on there.
Mm-hmm.
And connect it up, no problem. And I thought about asking about it because I asked Tony and Benji if one of them had an extra battery I could borrow, and they both were like, "Yeah, I got one, no problem." So I didn't worry about it. And so we get to camp, and I was like, pull it out, and they go, "Oh, there's no plug on the end of that?" I was like, "Yeah, I should have asked. I wasn't really sure." And both of them were like, "Yeah, all I have is this power bank where you have to plug it in." And so I thought, well, I can't.
Did you try to put the 2 bare wires in there to see if it would work?
It might have worked. You never know. I didn't think of that. But we messed around with different ideas of how we could fix it. I told him, I said, because I hadn't run it at home, I came prepared to camp in the cold. I brought my layers and my extra sleeping bag, and so I wasn't too worried about it.
He had his Dan Marino wool and
Dan Marino wool.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up a Miami Dolphins fan, so.
Jarrett Hudson.
Oh,
yeah, Jarrett sent that to me. Thanks, man.
He's got a cool setup, that's for sure.
So anyway, Tony sacrificed his mattress pump to see if we could wire up a cigarette lighter plug.
Yeah, you can show it. It's okay.
So it's get up here. Here we go. So we got this here.
That's definitely work in the field. That's work in the field. That's not in Tony's shop. It was in a non-controlled environment.
I'll say
the wind was blowing, the rain was coming down, so it's all forgivable, Tony.
Well, I was just impressed with how prepared Tony was to have wire strippers and connectors and all that stuff, and I thought,
yeah, he's got it.
This is it.
He's got
son of an electrician right there.
That's why you travel with people who drive Jeeps. They always got tools.
I actually managed to have I actually managed to have 3 sets of those connectors.
Wow.
Because we did it 3 times.
Well,
and for whatever reason it just wouldn't provide enough power.
But that's all right. Tony has sacrificed some of his stuff on the altar of friendship for me as well. So
I'll tell you what else Tony hooked me up with. He had a spare hose to get a better duct work into my tent. So he let me have that, and he hooked me up with a leak-proof cap.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The mod that they do on the cap that's with the tire valve on them. Yeah.
That's cool.
Very appreciative of that.
Well, I'm excited that you are getting into this overlanding, world, and getting out there and into the expos and the rendezvous and stuff like that, because I think that knives and overlanding really go together, because I don't think there's ever been a time when I've been out camping I haven't used one. So it's so now that you are an official overlander, Benji's on here. He wants to know what your favorite camp meal would be.
My favorite camp meal.
I think I know what it is. I think I think we can guess.
It was a
giant sandwich. I think it'd be a giant sub sandwich is what that would be. Yeah.
That's right there. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. That's it.
So one of the best things I ate all weekend, Benji fixed for me.
Oh yeah,
he was a regular gourmet chef this weekend.
He did fix us a lot of good food this weekend.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Kai says the back of my Jeep's starting to look like Sanford and Son with all the spare parts and pieces. And I know Benji got a kick out.
Kai, don't fan the fire with.
We don't need any more. It looked like Benji's vehicle just vomited out everywhere on the side of the water right there. It was crazy.
Oh man!
What would be your? Arla wants to know what your dream overland destination would be.
There you go.
We all have one.
That's a great question. Yep.
That's a tough one because I really, I haven't explored what's all out there.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I really don't know.
Okay.
That's hard to say. I'm looking forward to a sweet bluff lookout in the Ozarks. Like that's kind of like what I'm imagining. I've seen some really cool pictures of folks camping on bluffs. right now I would say those would be my dream locations.
Well, you were about 30 yards from one on Friday morning.
Yeah, you sure were, but
I
you
mean,
wouldn't
we
have been
only
able
had
to see
10 foot of
anything because the
visibility, but
fog was
we
so
were there.
thick. That's what I talked to Tony about. Okay, so we planned this great campsite where people can go up there and have this beautiful view, and then like the visibility was like 10 feet
Oh man.
because the fog was so bad. So,
Oh, it was awful.
here's my wife has a question. Does your wife like camping?
If I have the right amenities, yes.
To keep her comfortable. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
That's pretty common.
working.
That's not
yeah.
that's not uncommon. Not
Yeah.
uncommon. Tony works hard to keep his wife comfortable too.
Yep.
I try.
We all do.
I fall short of the air conditioner every year, and I get told about it.
Hey, I have one if you need to borrow it. Tony.
Yeah, I know. You've had one. Chris and Amy's had one. Everybody's got one that we can borrow. Yeah.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
goodness, that's so funny. So how do you feel that being in the overlanding world has helped you with your craft? Do you feel as though you've been accepted into the overlanding family?
I think so. I saw that. So my first show I did was More Expo last year, and Arla's got some good references for you, Tony.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know.
it's funny how she always talks about that. Almost that time. So it's getting warm.
I'm not
Get
sure
warm.
I'm going to be able to pull off another summer with that one.
I mean, you would have
Yeah.
needed the AC today. It was 70 degrees outside down
Let
here.
me tell you what the perfect Valentine's gift for your wife would be, Tony. I don't know if you could ever guess it. It might be a air
a
conditioner.
0 breeze.
Anyway, back to the
There
question.
you go.
Back to the question.
Yeah, so More Expo was the first show I did 2023, so not quite a year ago. And so got up there, and I had gotten to go on a trip where I met Benji and I met Tony last February, and kind of knew a few people. I felt like I didn't really know anybody super well, but when I got there to More Expo, had that first day, everybody kind of showed up. I went to go hang out with Caleb Baker.
Galen, you're killing me.
And everybody kind of showed everybody
Galen,
showed up, and I
killing me.
met a ton of people, and it was just
Yeah.
I mean, I met a lot of what I would consider friends now.
Mhm.
But everybody's just, hey, what do you need? Can I help you with anything? And
Yeah.
so and then coming to Rendezvous and meeting back up with the people I met at More or hadn't seen since More. And everybody's just so excited to see everybody. And so it's just kind of, after Rendezvous, it just kind of felt like almost like family.
Yeah, man. Yes.
Getting to catch back up with vendors that I've met. And so then since Rendezvous, I, went on this weekend trip last weekend to test out the Gazelle.
Mm-hmm. And the diesel heater.
And the diesel heater. Hopefully I'll have some time to actually for the next trip.
Yeah.
And then I got a 5-day trip planned for the end of February. I'm going to just hop in and ride along, but I'll take my Gazelle with me.
Sweet.
I'll share a diesel heater, split one with somebody, and so I'm pumped.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Well, I'm excited for you. You provide something to the overlanding community, and it's a great service that you do. You do it with love, you do it with heart, and I love it. And since we're talking about that, I want to talk about some of the knives that you have made and some of the ones that you have available, because everybody that's on here listening and everybody that will listen on the podcast, which there's thousands of people that will listen. Michael Pruitt at Pruitt Knives of Valor is on Instagram, and then Pruitt Knives of Valor on Facebook. And I'm fixing to show you what his site looks like and some of the knives that he has done from start to finish. Like we talked about earlier, these are the ones he has right now. So tell me what these knives are and what they're for.
So these are this is my cleaver set. I've done one other cleaver set before. This is the second one I've done. This one's a little heftier, wider, but I designed them to be able to just be a good addition to any like a camp kitchen setup or even a home kitchen setup.
You just spoke my love language.
Mhm.
I just got butterflies in my stomach and my heart just got all weak and stuff when you said camp kitchen setup and oh my goodness.
But then you've got that. So the small cleaver is great for even just keeping on your belt or in your pocket. It's about a 3-inch blade. And so it's good, it's good for kind of lighter work. And then you've got that. The larger cleaver is about a 4.5-inch length. But I left it pretty hefty in the spine, so it can, it'll chop through pretty much anything you need it to chop through.
I like it. I like it a lot. Now, this one right here was one that you did not very long ago, and you said that this one tested you, or it was out of your comfort zone. And why is that? It's shaped a little different.
It's just very differently shaped than the handles that I have been making, and I've been kind of my handle shapes have been evolving a little bit to, I think, make them even better. But this one was one, so I connected with a couple with a family really at Rendezvous, and they came by and they described the knife and they said, would you be able to, she has a folding knife like this, but she wanted a fixed blade knife. And so I was like, yeah, I'm sure I could help, I'm sure I could recreate that for you and, make you a fixed blade knife. So they went home, I went home, heard back from them a few weeks later, and they sent me pictures. And my initial reaction inside was to go, I can't do that. That's just part of it it was outside my comfort zone, just very different from the style that I do.
Right.
And so, but I thought, well, I'll draw, I drew it out. He sent me pictures with some measurements. So I drew it all out and they were happy with the drawings. And so I usually, when I do a special order, I take a 50% deposit up front and then I'll start the order. But with this one, I thought, I told him, let me make sure I can do this first before I take any money from you. So I got it forged out. It wasn't the best shape to finish forged. So I did a little bit of grinding to get it closer to the shape I wanted. Then I took it back and did a little bit more forging to finish out the blade as far as forging it. Once I got it to a good profile, I knew I could finish it, but I was getting it to that shape that I was a little uncertain of. So, but it turned out it's a pretty funky style, but it's actually, it's very comfortable in the hand.
Yeah.
She uses it. Her primary use for it was skin and deer.
Oh, okay.
So
that does look like with the blade going up and it's easy to hold in the hand. That does look like it would be very good for that. Now these are the ones you say you normally do, the small everyday carry, right? You make more of these than any of them, and you actually sold a ton of these at Rendezvous when people were able to put their hands on them and see how much heavier, how much better quality they were than normal knife you sold. I went over and talked to you and you were like, man, I've done really well. And I was like, that's because your product's good. And so you make more of these than anything, right?
Yeah. So these small, they're about a 3-inch blade. The handle's a little on the small side just to keep it light, but not so small you couldn't get a whole hand around it. So that's actually what I carry. But you can for my hand, I can still get my pinky on it if I need to hold it with a full grip. It's a tight full grip. I have made a couple where the customer wanted it to be about a 1/2 inch longer because they had much bigger hands than me. And so I accommodated that, no problem. But it just makes for a great everyday carry. This I keep on my belt every day. And kind of can be just a good general purpose knife.
Yeah, show the Razorback. Bro, show the Razorback.
This one?
Show the no, that's the Arkansas butter knife.
I want to know. I don't know what was the inspiration for the Arkansas butter knife here.
So this started. I made the first one about a year ago. So I made this. The first one I made it for Caleb Baker. He said he wanted just a big camp knife.
And give us a size on this, because I don't know if people can actually get a perspective about how long this thing is.
Yeah,
It's
so
huge.
the blade on this is 8 inches. So from where you see the blade start all the way to the point is 8 inches. And then the handle's probably another 4.5, maybe 5 inches.
No, got a second buyer.
Sold.
Buyer.
Sold.
That's all. Thank you, Galen. You the man.
You can see, so here it is in person. I mean, that's a big knife.
That's a big knife.
Now that's a knife.
Well, that's a knife.
That's not a knife. This is a knife. I love that. That's one of the best things. Which one were you wanting to show, Tony? I'm not sure that I've.
The Razorback. I think it's the. So stop. Go back up. Right there. The second one.
Mostly black, slightly orange handle.
Mostly black, slightly orange.
All the way to the left. Up. No.
Nope.
Well,
Okay.
I suppose that's one right there, isn't it? That one. Right. No. Back. The second one over. One more. Right there. Isn't that it?
No, so that one I called. What did I call that one? I think I called that one the either the Hawk or the Falcon, and now I'm forgetting which one I named it. I got it written down somewhere.
That's pretty cool
I'm getting
shape.
that
That's
one confused with the Razorback. Yeah,
That's pretty
it
mean.
had the ridge on the
Mean
back.
looking.
So if you'll go, let's see, click out of that. It's on that top line right there. Oh, go back up. Oh, now it's kind of in the middle.
With the blue handle?
Not with so it's the orange handle next to it.
Orange handle next to it. Okay. Right there.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the Razorback. So that one right there, I got to show to Tony this weekend. He loved it.
Yes.
Huh.
It's about a 4.5-inch blade. It's got a real good contour to the handle of it. I mean, it just fits so well in the hand.
That looks like a shank I've seen in some prisons.
Dude.
But you got
that one with the patina and a snazberry handle. Oh, good grief.
That one looked very
Oh
snazzy.
my goodness.
Very snazzy.
This one right here. I want to go back to this one right here. So this is like the what do you call the
Serbian chef's knife.
Yes, the Serbian chef's knife. That I love these. I have used one of these cooking for a ton of people on the Go Explore trips, and you don't even have to put any pressure behind anything when you cook it. When you cut it, it does it all by itself because this knife is so big and heavy. I love it. It's so easy.
It's the best one for chopping broccoli.
Yeah. Yeah, or if you need to take somebody's finger off, it does wash. It does.
I don't know that Joey's seen that skit, that Saturday Night Live skit.
You need to send it to him after we
I
get
need
off
to.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, he has sent you a
Right
video on
Awesome.
Instagram.
Thanks,
That's
Jared.
You know, I've got a. Never mind. Go ahead.
You've also done some other pretty large ones. This is a pretty large one here.
Yep.
That's almost.
It's about
It's almost like the Rambo knife.
Yeah, that's an 8.5-inch blade. I actually have that one sitting right here.
Goodness gracious, that's
Good
humongous.
grief.
That's like a machete.
Beautiful recurve to it.
Wow.
Now, do you need a license for something that awesome, or
if you
is it
carry
not
it with you on your body, that is considered a weapon. I just want to put that out there right now. If you carry it in your hunting truck, you're good. But if you carry it on your body, out in public, that is considered a weapon. You will
frowned upon?
You'll get stopped by the stupid police all the time. I swear. Now, what would you use something like that for? Is this what it looked like before you started? Is that the same knife?
It's very similar.
Okay.
That one's one I'm actually currently working on right now.
Okay.
That's kind of a prototype for that will look similar to this. The big difference between these two is going to be that handle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'll notice, if you can see this, so that handle is contoured,
right, but
not super contoured.
Right.
So if I were to swing it, you might notice that it'll kind of start to ratchet. So you have to regrip and it'll ratchet and regrip. So with this handle you're looking at right there in that picture, that's something I've learned recently from Jason Knight in his course, and he calls it the handle that grabs you back. And so it's a tight fit. It's a little on the small side, but it's a nice tight fit, and I can swing that thing 100 times and it will never move in my hand.
Nice.
So cool.
I like that.
There's another. I'm going to ask you too. Do you make your own sheaths?
I do.
Okay, so this is the sheath you made for the Serbian thing. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That is so cool.
Absolutely love that.
I get some veggie.
Now the one that I have is Kydex.
Mm-hmm.
I like it because I can. I could throw it down anywhere and it's not going to hurt it. It's not going to damage it or do anything to it. I actually love that because I move it into the house and then to the FJ and then into the house and then to the FJ, and so it gets moved around a lot. So yeah, it goes around everywhere. I think Kai was talking about the Arkansas toothpick, pig or the last one.
Pig sticker.
About. Yeah, the pig sticker.
So are you talking about this one, Kai?
Oh my goodness, that's a good one.
The razor.
Now, let's see. Let's see here. I want to ask. Oh, I got this right here. Is looking at you making some of your sheaths.
Yep.
That's. We're getting into some a pretty good while ago now. So this is the board that you had your setup on. Some of the knives you have, and my knife is right there. That one is not available. I just want to put that out there. The rest of them could be. He can make you one like it, but there's not going to be any more made like mine because it's one of a kind. But anyway, it's I like how you've displayed a lot of your knives. This is a great traditional style, just straightforward, good hunting knife, skinning knife. That you put out there. How many knives do you think you've made now, or do you know?
I really don't know anymore. I would be surprised if it was less than 150.
Yeah.
It may be upwards of 200.
Wow.
So,
how far have you come since the first knife you've made?
A very long way. So the first knife I made, was a railroad spike knife.
I don't think you saw that.
What did it say?
Slicing that piece of paper with the ninja emoji.
Yeah, you do that a lot to show how sharp they are. And I want you to talk about that here in a minute. When you get through talking about this, I want you to talk about your sharpening process. And
I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about the first knife that you made was a railroad spike.
Yeah, so I made a railroad spike knife, and if you were to look at the head on at that knife, the bevels looked like this. I mean, just round as could be, and so it wasn't super sharp. And so yeah, look, it was something similar to that. Yeah. And so that's what I very first started with, was a few of those until I got my hand on some leaf springs.
Yeah.
And so I wish I brought it in here with me. So the first knife I made out of high carbon steel, out of leaf springs, I hammered on that thing for 10 hours, and it was so big and ugly. And it was the handle. I left it so big I couldn't even put a handle on it, so I just wrapped it in paracord. It hangs on the shop wall, and it reminds me of how far I've come.
Yeah. Well, I've done leather work for years, and I have my very first wallet that I made. And the reason that I have the very first wallet that I made is because it's good for nothing. Because when I measured everything out, I measured like the length of a credit card, and I made 2 credit card slots, but I didn't allow for the sewing, so you can't fit credit cards in there. And I didn't allow for the sewing on the dollar bill, so you can't even put dollar bills in there. And I'm like, this thing, I worked on this thing for like 25 hours. I hand sewed it. I did all this stuff. And I was like, just a boat anchor, and it's just not even good at that. And so I have that sitting in my shelf too as a sign of how far I've come, because I've made over 150 wallets over the years, and and all that stuff. And I look at what I can do now and what
just too.
I just did Tony a patch. I was pretty proud of that.
I
Oh, my wife has a good question right here. We're going to put this up here on the screen so you can answer this. What is your worst knife injury, or worst injury you've had making a knife?
There's two that kind of they were pretty equal. So the first one, so I have a belt grinder, and the first belt grinder I ever got was just a 1-inch by 30-inch belt grinder. It wasn't super powerful, and I slipped and put my finger into the belt, and that's it right there. So I start as low as 36 grit belts, which is like gravel. It's like pavement. It's so coarse.
It takes a hide off in a hurry, don't it?
Yeah.
So I was grinding like this, and so I always keep a finger on the back, and it's usually my thumb. While I was going across, working the bevel, and the knife slipped, and my thumb just went into the belt. Ooh. And it took the. Thankfully, it was a dull belt. If it was a sharp belt, I probably would have ended up at the hospital. But it definitely took a couple layers off and slowed me down for a while. The other one is I just burned myself real bad.
Yeah.
I had a piece of scale on the knife fly off, and so I gripped the hammer right here, and it landed between my hand and the hammer. And as I kind of re-gripped on that swing, I just pushed it into my skin, and that was pretty nasty.
Wow. Well, so while we're on that subject, about sharp things and pointy things getting in your skin, you have. When I got my knife in the for Christmas, it came in a box. It came with a little note and all this other stuff. It was really nice and personalized. I felt like it was just a little piece of you. And anyway, it was just really cool. It came with instructions on how to clean it. And you said something about the sharpening process. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just something that you just drag through this little V thing. Tell us about your sharpening process and how you get your knife so sharp.
So there's a few ways that I sharpen. So when I first put the initial sharpening bevel on,
What's another one, Galen? If you're already down to 9 7/8, 8 7/8 ain't that much worse. Just make sure you do one that don't do anything.
So when I first put a sharpening edge on some of my knives, so like my everyday carries, I've got, if you can see, there's the first bevel, and then there's a secondary bevel to its edge. I actually do that on my 1x30 machine, and I'll sharpen it there, and then I'll strap it on a belt, and I'll check it through paper to make sure it's sharp all the way to the end. So that's how I'll initially put the edge on it, and then if I go back, if I were to go back and resharpen it, I have a Lansky set, and if you're not, or like a Gatco set is another popular brand where it has these wings that'll clamp on the spine of the knife here, and then the wings will stick up here, and then you've got stones that you've got a guide rod to set your angle, and so then you can go up, and I'll hand sharpen it that way. And then with like my kitchen knives, I'll actually use my stone. I thought it was right here. I'll actually use this diamond stone. I'll grind the bevels about to the point to almost sharp. Then I'll hand sand the bevels to get them nice and smooth and cleaned up. And then I'll take them to my sharpening stone here, so it's fine and then extra fine. And I'll get it to a nice smooth edge. And then I'll sit there and I'll get it strapped up real good. And I've stopped checking to see if they'll shave hair, because it got to the point where I learned how to sharpen them better, and then it would just cut me rather than actually it was so sharp it just go into my skin. So I thought I'll start using paper and stuff rather than myself.
Yeah, you do that quite often. I like watching your videos on your Instagram showing you cutting the the paper. So that's Benji says, can you use concrete to sharpen knives?
I mean, you could, but what if you're stoneless?
I'll tell you what. Oh my goodness. Well, I have been more than pleased with my knife, and it's probably going to be one of several that I get from you. And
Awesome.
we have a couple more people that's already saying, and Tony's already mentioned that he's got to add one to his collection too. So we are huge fans, love your work, and we really appreciate you coming on here and sharing about it, and really enjoy spending time with you. I'm really excited about this year, hanging out with you a little bit more now that we
Yes, sir.
know each other in person, and pretty excited about that.
For sure. For sure.
I love how you get your son involved in your craft.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Training up the next generation in something that is worthy, instead of them doing just the normal everyday kid stuff. I love that. That's pretty cool. You take the time to do that.
Thanks.
I love how you went out of the way to get me my knife for Christmas. I totally appreciate that. And then we have Overland of America is on here. So appreciate, I don't know. I'm guessing this is Bobby that's on here. Bobby, I want to take a minute and say to everybody, mark your calendars, September 13th through the 15th of this year. The coordinates are on the screen, so you can save those. Put that on your calendar for Overland of America Expo. It's going to be super cool, and we are excited to be the podcast for that expo. I'm pretty excited about that.
I know. I am too.
It's going to be so cool. Hope to see everybody there. But anyway, Michael, it's been a true joy to have you on here, and Jay, Oklahoma at Mid America Outdoors is where that's going to be. So anyway, mark your calendars and mark your maps. So anyway, we wish you nothing but the best. We are going to support you in every way that we possibly can. And glad to have you around. Just glad to have you here. Really.
It's glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for being here on the show. We've kind of reached our time limit of what we like to do. On behalf of the Tony, myself, and Michael, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the Overland podcast. We'll be here same bat time, same bat channel next week. Until then, look out for number 1. Don't step at number 2. We're out.